This is a podcast by the News Minute, and you are listening to South Central.
Welcome to South Central, a TNM podcast where we put the South at the center. This is a podcast that drops every Friday. The format is very simple. We discuss headlines from southern India and then we deep delve into two topics. In this week's episode, we look at the attack on Christians in India, 2 Kerala nuns arrested in Chhattisgarh. Then we'll talk about the retrenchments in TCS. Joining me today is my co-host and reporting head of the News Minute, Pooja Prasanna.
Hi Dhanya, shooting just before you're packing me off to Dharmasthala.
Yeah, in fact, normally we record South Central either on Wednesday or Thursday, but we are recording this on the 29th of July, which is a Tuesday, because Pooja has to go to Dharmasthala again. The exhumations have begun there. As we record, the exhumation on spot 1 has almost gotten over. I mean, in the sense, today's work has gotten over. Doesn't look like they found anything, but it will go on. So yes, Pooja and Shivani Kava will be on the ground. Do follow their coverage. Joining me from Kerala, in fact, 2 people. One is co-host and investigative journalist Leena Reghunath.
Hello, Dhanya.
And joining us for the first time on South Central is actually TNM's
Oldest one too. Not by age.
Not by age, but the person who's been around the longest at the News Minute, Haritha John, our Kerala Bureau Chief.
Hello, Dhanya.
See, no hello for anybody else. Yes.
Yeah. What is this?
Haritha, so we will first go to the headlines, but before that, I just want to remind everyone that Pooja is going to Dharmasthala again, and that's possible only because a lot of you contributed to our reporting fund, took our subscriptions. Thank you for that. But please keep doing that because it also tells us that you do believe in the work that we are doing. So here is a QR code for the subscription. Try to become a subscriber. We have a long story from Nidhi Suresh, which will be released, I hope, in around 2 weeks. She has been working on it for more than 6 months. And we'll have a couple of other stories, one from Sudipto Mondal. All this exclusively for our subscribers. And also look at one of the campaigns that we're running. It's called Support Our Shows. So if you give to the fund, we'll have more mics and more setup in our studio. Now, the headlines, Pooja.
We'll start with Dharmasthala. The whistleblower takes SIT to 13 alleged grave sites. This happened yesterday, like Dhanya rightly said. Today, they have started digging. It's almost over in one spot. The SIT took the complainant to Netravati Snanaghatta. This is where a lot of people come to take a holy dip in the Netravati river. And they have marked each of the 13 spots that he's shown them with numbers. And all of the spots were in the forest area except one. One spot was right next to a road. In fact, we did go there when we were there last time for our ground report. It's just off the Snanaghatta. People walk on that. It's next to a parking spot. So that's one of the spots. But media increasingly going there now. I'm hoping that there will be more transparency, if not anything else.
Yeah.
Moving on to another headline from Karnataka. Darshan fans target actor Divya Spandana, who's also known as Ramya, to people here in Karnataka. Karnataka Women's Commission seeks police probe. This is because she passed some remarks on the Renuka Swami murder case. For those who have not been following this case, in fact, I had done a detailed Let Me Explain episode on what the case is. You can go back and read it if you'd like, watch it rather. But a very popular Kannada actor, Darshan Tugudipa, is a co-accused in the murder of a fan whose name is Renuka Swami. He has been given bail by the Karnataka High Court. The Supreme Court did have some very harsh remarks on how the bail was given. All Divya Spandana or Ramya did is express her support to what the Supreme Court did. And for that, she's been getting rape and death threats.
Which is not at all surprising because Darshan fan base is known for it. In fact, if we say something, they will keep spamming us also. But we have done quite a few stories on Darshan. But I think the one thing we have to notice, Shivraj Kumar has come out in support of Ramya and said that what is happening is not right. Ramya has also filed a police complaint.
Yeah. Moving to Tamil Nadu, you are a comedy piece. Madras High Court judge attacks advocate over caste bias allegations. Dhanya, we've been following this quite closely. Sudipto's story is also around this.
No, so what has happened is a lawyer named Vanchinathan, who's part of a rights group, they wrote a letter to the Supreme Court alleging that Justice G.R. Swaminathan of the Madras High Court was deeply biased. Now, the letter made 15 allegations and drawing a conclusion that he was casteist and ideological and that he did show these biases in court itself. So there are two things here. One, Vanchinathan says that how did a letter which I wrote to the Supreme Court and to fellow judges get leaked to G.R. Swaminathan, who's justice in the Madras High Court? Within 4 days, G.R. Swaminathan brings up this letter in the court, and G.R. Swaminathan is listening a case about a complaint against himself. So he has pulled up Vanchinathan saying his contempt of court, and it got quite personal in the court with the justice saying that you are a comedy piece. That's like a Tamil, English, insult use on someone.
Basically calling someone a joker.
Yes. So I think this is not the end of it. A lot of former judges have come out in support of Vanchinathan, but G.R. Swaminathan also has his own backing.
Yeah. Staying with Tamil Nadu, IT professional hacked to death in Tirunelveli in suspected caste killing. This is very disturbing. A 27-year-old Dalit man whose name was Colin Gonsalves was hacked to death in broad daylight in KTC Nagar in Tirunelveli on Sunday, 27th of June. And this is allegedly over a relationship with a woman from a dominant community. We've been reporting on this for so long, but it's just a disturbing pattern.
No, imagine, Harita, of course you'll remember, but the Kerala man who was killed in a caste killing, his name was Kevin. And this man's name is Kevin. I was actually thinking of that first. So the girl's family, the woman's family belongs to the Maravar community, and her father and mother are police officials. So now only her brother has been arrested for this crime, but the mother and father have not been arrested. They've only been suspended. So there are protests happening saying that these people also should be arrested. But imagine, right, the family really tries hard, educates this young man. He gets a job in IT company. He's working in Chennai. And all that he did was perhaps to be friends with or have a relationship with this woman. And that's it. That creates such anger. So I see a lot of outpouring of anger from people who are from Dalit communities in Tamil Nadu, and rightly so. The numbers are quite serious over the last few years.
And this is the most disturbing part. The murder happened in front of Kavin's mother. She then went and filed a police complaint. My God. 3 terrorists who carried out the Pahalgam terror attack killed is what Amit Shah has told the parliament. He said that 3 terrorists who've been identified as Suleiman, Gibran and Afghan Bhai, all Pakistani nationals, and they were tracked with the help of human and technical intelligence in an operation led by Intelligence Bureau, Army, CRPF and Jammu and Kashmir Police. This is the update that Amit Shah has given parliament. Another national headline, Rahul Gandhi to adopt 22 children who lost their parents in Pakistani shelling during Operation Sindoor.
I just want to say one thing. When Nidhi Suresh had gone to Poonch for reporting after the whole attack, she had done a story about how there was no clarity on how many people in Poonch were gunned down. Basically from the Pakistanis were firing at people in India, and there was absolutely no clarity. We even spoke to hospital authorities, to the government, but there was no clarity on how many people died in Poonch.
Moving to Kerala, RSS Education Wing holds national conclave in Kochi. Kerala Vice Chancellors and academics attend. This was on Sunday, 27th July, and it was organized, bear with me, Shiksha Sanskriti Uttan Nyas. I hope I got that right, which is the education wing of RSS. Our Kerala experts, please weigh in.
I think this doesn't come as a surprise to anybody that we have also in one of the South Centrals talked about how this has been an ongoing issue, the higher education and the RSSification of the VC Vice Chancellor posts. So I think this now new event shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody in Kerala.
Surrogacy scam in Hyderabad. Couple discovers child not biologically theirs. Hyderabad police have arrested fertility doctor, her name is Dr. Namrata, for allegedly cheating a couple by promising them a child through surrogacy, but handing them a child of another couple.
This is one of the, a mind-boggling scam. So basically this Hyderabad couple go to have a surrogate child, and the doctor says it's successful, you had a surrogate baby. Now, I don't know why they did a DNA test. Perhaps, in 2 months' time, they realized the child does not look like them.
Features are not that developed, are they?
I don't know, but they did a DNA test and they realized the child is not theirs. This doctor has apparently bought the child from a couple in Assam who was working in Telangana, and then bought it from them and given it to these people. So Anjana Meenakshi, our colleague, has done a story today on how the child does not have any takers now. The adoptive family does not want the child. The biological family is in jail because they've been arrested. And the CWC has the child now. But eventually it has to be decided whether the child can be given back to the biological parents and whether they can keep that child.
That's it for this week. Headlines are done. Dhanya, we can start the discussion.
Yes. So the first topic that we're going to discuss is the attacks on Christians. Recently, we saw two nuns, Sister Preethi Mary and Sister Vandana Francis, both part of the Assisi Sister of Mary Immaculate Convent. They were arrested in Chhattisgarh on July 26th. These two nuns were traveling with three young women who had gotten jobs in Agra, and they were accompanying them to a convent in Agra along with a young man. But the Bajrang Dal intervened. We've all seen videos where the Bajrang Dal members are becoming quite verbally violent with these women. The nuns have been arrested. There is an atmosphere of fear among the Catholic community in Chhattisgarh. Of course, these two nuns are from Kerala. So there is also a lot of discussion back in Kerala, a state where the BJP and the Sangh have been actively wooing the Christian community, especially the Catholic community. So to talk to us about the attacks on Christians and how it has been unfolding over the last few years is Colin Gonsalves. He's a senior advocate of the Supreme Court of India and the founder of the Human Rights Law Network. He specializes in human rights protection. And of course, he has been representing people in some very, very important cases, including one on increasing attacks on Christians. Thank you very much, Mr. Gonsalves, for joining us.
Thank you.
Just to go back to the story of what happened to these two nuns, they were arrested and they have been charged under the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, the BNS, and also a law in Chhattisgarh, which is against conversion. There has been a lot of noise in Chhattisgarh recently, like it happens in all BJP states, against conversion itself. I come to you first, Mr. Gonsalves. You have been sort of looking at this trend, right, on how the attacks have been panning out across states. I mean, there is enough data. For example, in 2024, the United Christian Forum put together data which said that around 834 incidents of violence were recorded against Christians. And when we talk to people in UCF, they'll tell you that this is just the accounted number. There are a lot of people who do not even want to talk about what happened. And so that's not even brought into the data.
Well, the case is going on in the Supreme Court, and you're right. Right across the country, maybe 1,000 cases every year in about 8 states of India mainly. And Chhattisgarh, I was surprised to see, is high on the list of the attacks on Christians. So this is going on year after year after year. I must tell you, our Supreme Court let us down very badly. The bench was presided over by Justice Chandrachud. We provided all kinds of data before him, affidavit after affidavit of attacks on pastors, attacks on individuals. Prayer meetings stopped. So what they do is when you have a prayer meeting on a Sunday, they'll barge into the hall, grab the pastor by his neck, take him with the local police who support the Bajrang Dal fully, put him into a lockup, and then, of course, we are pleading and pleading and pleading to get out. Then they come into the hall and break all the glass panes and so on. If there's a statue, that will be broken. Vandalism, basically. And then the police, to cap it all, will file a case against the participants of the meeting. That they were doing this, they were doing that, and none of their activities are a crime. It's not a crime to pray. It's not a crime to talk to people. It's not even a crime to convert. But the crime is forced conversion, and they don't have any evidence of forced conversion. It's like the present case. I was told these girls were being taken to do work in a hospital. And they anticipated them, met them at the Durg station, and then started getting very violent. And it's not just verbally violent, but in many cases it's physical violence as well. Now, I feel that the institution of our judiciary let us down very badly. And there is a creeping saffronization within our judiciary. And there is a lack of spine, with judges not being able to stand up to the powerful central government. What a shame. We had the finest judiciary in the country, in the world. And now look what a pathetic state it has been reduced to. So I'll come to what needs to be done and all a little later, but this is the introduction to the issue as it stands and the betrayal by the judiciary, so that every year it continues. 600, 700, 800 attacks and persecution of Christians every year, going on and on and on while the case is pending in the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Dhanya, if I can frame the context of the numbers that you spoke of earlier, this is the UCF numbers that you were citing. It shows that in just 10 years, this is from when the Modi government came, from 2014 to 2024, there has been a surge of 468% increase as far as attacks on Christians are concerned. And like Mr. Gonsalves pointed out, these are just the documented ones, the ones that have been reported. We don't know how many more. And a bulk of it, 60% of it comes from 5 states, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, and Rajasthan. What is the nature of these attacks? Mob violence, church vandalism, accusations of conversion, forced reconversion, and also arrests, some sort of legal practice.
So I just want to point out one thing. The Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Vishnu Diosai has also come out, he's actually put out a tweet saying that this was an example of forced conversion, which means he's backing the police and the Bajrang Dal in the case. But my colleague Sudipto Mondal actually, Mr. Gonsalves, he had traveled to Chhattisgarh during the elections last time. And one of the things that he wrote is that how under Bhupesh Baghel, the chief minister of the Congress too, the attacks on Christians were on the rise. In fact, Baghel was accused of allowing Christian churches to come up. And at one point of time, Baghel made a speech saying that, no, it is you BJP people who allowed so many churches to be built. So there was no difference basically in Chhattisgarh, whether it was the government, was the Congress or the BJP. But what I want to also ask you is how the police is being used in all this. Like we have seen the same happening in Karnataka when they tried to bring an anti-conversion bill in Karnataka. The police were also, in many cases, just going and filing these cases saying forced conversion, right? So have you seen that pattern too, where the police is hand in hand with these people who are protesting?
Well, right across the country, not just in respect of Christians, but in respect of Muslims as well, the police force in our country is completely communalized. So all these things are possible only because the police force goes with the Bajrang Dal activists or the Vishwa Hindu Parishad activists. The police go with them. The police is supposed to keep law and order, but the police are the assailants. The police catch you and put you in the lockup. The police know it's not a crime and they fabricate a crime. And the police take an FIR signed by the Bajrang Dal activists. So in the Supreme Court, we have filed all the FIR letters signed by whom? The Bajrang Dal, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the RSS, this and that. Can you imagine? The criminals are getting us arrested. So the criminalization of, this force is a criminal force. This force that is, behind these attacks is a criminal force. Backed by the Home Minister, backed by the Prime Minister, and backed by the powerful central government. So we're up against an enemy which is not small and weak, and it is a very powerful force that is against us. But what I'd like us to also look at, if you don't mind, is why are we as Christians, so pathetic in fighting back? Why are we so, quiet? Why is our leadership so quiet? And I think nobody takes, because we are very respectful of the leadership of the Christian community, nobody takes them to task. Why are you not out? Fighting for the rights of your own flock, so to speak. You remember when the Kandhamal riots took place, there was this Archbishop Chinath. He was a lion. He came, he did the case, and I remember him telling me, Colin, if there's even one sheep of my flock missing, it's my duty to find her and protect her. Where are these lions today in our Christian community? Where are our lawyers in the Christian community? All of them doing church cases, church property cases, I suppose. So we should focus a little bit. I mean, we know the government is incapable of anything progressive, incapable of change. It's a government of gundas, a government of totally violent people full of hate speech. But we must gather our own forces around us. When is that going to happen? And about Baghel, I can tell you, if you don't mind, I'll just butt in here. You see, when Baghel was the chief minister when we drafted this case, when we filed this case in the Supreme Court, Baghel was the chief minister. Guess who he appoints as his advocate in the Supreme Court in answer to our case of attacks all over the country? He appoints a Solicitor General. The same person, less said the better, but the same person, Manipuri was there opposing our petition, Chhattisgarh is there, and the chief minister of Chhattisgarh appoints him as the representative. So I sent some message through Mr. Vivek Tanka. I said, and the Archbishop went and met Baghel, and we said, change your advocate. So that we could have put up a fiery advocate from Chhattisgarh who would speak up against these attacks. And it didn't work. So the Archbishop failed to get any change, and we got no assistance in the case at all. Sometimes I think we depend on others too much. And we need to just have our forces of young Christian men and women around to, fight back.
I think that is a very valid point what Mr. Advocate Gonsalves has raised here of how community leaders, I think we'll go further into that discussion when we also bring Haritha in, of how even powerful community leader in Kerala, Christian community leaders don't take up the arms. But I want to, before we go further into down that discussion, I wanted to also bring another point. Now, there are a few things that when I look at these attacks that comes to my mind. One is, as previously stated in one of the South Central episodes, India has a constitution that goes out to promise religious freedom to all religions. And the state promises to give equal protection, have, free will to choose the religion of your choice. But today, over 12 Indian states have anti-conversion laws, and there is a call for more and more stringent anti-conversion laws. So and so that in March we saw the MP or the CM of MP, Mohan Yadav, say that, conversion laws, conversion of minor girls should attract the same kind of punishment as rape of a minor girl, that he called for death penalty, as if conversion is a huge crime in this country. And we see that playing out in the popular imagination, this increasing call for conversion, stricter, stringent anti-conversion laws. So, Mr. Gonsalves, what is your take on it? And I recently, even Supreme Court came out where the parents of an interfaith couple was okay with their marriage and had allowed marriage, but then the community went and filed a complaint, and the Christian guy was in the jail. And and the Supreme Court came down and said that we have to seriously review the anti-conversion laws, but nothing has gone beyond that. So, how do you see these calls for stricter, stringent anti-conversion laws?
See, the anti-conversion law is really not concerned with conversion at all. Take the example of Kandhamal when the riots took place and the allegation was made that Christians were converting Hindus to Christianity. And when the study was done of some kind of ad hoc kind of study, where were the FIRs of conversion. 1. Where were charge sheets filed and charges framed against people for conversions? And was there even a single conviction for conversion in the state of Odisha during the Kandamal riots and thereafter, whatever? So you can't find anything. You can't find anything. So there's no conversion. It's just a convenient way to attack people peacefully gathered, doing their prayers on Sunday, and the intention is to stop prayer meetings. Why do I say this? Because first they catch the pastor when the meeting takes place, then they catch the participant, then they file cases, and then they tell them, if you agree not to do these meetings again, then we won't trouble you at all. So the purpose of the Bajrang Dal is not to get a conviction. It's not going to happen. It's not to prove conversions and so on. Not going to happen. They know it. In fact, the other community is doing, the majority community is probably doing more garvapasis, conversions, than the Christian community. Much more. But no one can say anything about that. So they're not worried about conversion. It's not their problem at all. They know the Christian conversion rate is very minor and the population is staying at the same level right across the country, if not falling slightly. Their intention is to stop all peaceful activities of Christian. So prayer meetings, I suspect in Chhattisgarh, UP and all these places, I get a sense, I don't know, it needs to be confirmed, that even normal activities, like church meetings, prayer meetings and so on, are stopping or slowed down. Because the police tell them, you stop and we'll leave you alone. So all right, give up your praying and we'll leave you alone.
You're bang on that. We saw the exact same thing play out in Karnataka a few years ago when there was a concerted effort to bring in an anti-conversion law. And at least 6 months before that, to the lead up to that, which happened, the bill was tabled in December. But for 6 months, we saw a steep increase of these attacks on prayer, on people's houses where prayer meetings were being conducted. And when I spoke to a few pastors, they did tell me off the record that the police, especially in Belagavi, where the session was going to be held, the police told them, please lay off for a few months because we cannot do anything to protect you, because it isn't just Bajrang Dal, VHP
Even
and
a
the likes.
BJP MLA
A
was
BJP MLA was out on the streets. So the government was behind these guys. It isn't even just studied silence anymore. It is enabling. And after December, you can resume your activities and will not hamper it.
I want to ask Harita one thing. Harita, the two nuns who were arrested in Chhattisgarh are both from Kerala, right? So one question which people would have is, why are Kerala nuns and this particular convent, which I think is part of the Ernakulam diocese, functioning in places like Chhattisgarh? And I think even in other previous cases, we have seen Keralites or even Tamilians or people from Andhra Pradesh who are working with the church being arrested in other states. Can you explain how they have started working in these areas?
This has started from the colonial era itself, from the British rule itself. The missionaries were coming from abroad and even from like in the local states, like interstate migrations, missionary migrations have been happening from the British era itself. So different congregations. So this was Sisters of Assisi and like the Holy Family. There are different congregations. They go for missionary purpose to other states, especially to northeastern states and to the northern states, especially the Hindi belts too. And the places where the education had not reached. So these church groups, different congregations, vendors started schools, colleges, missionary purposes, as well as for the education was there. Education was their one way of giving knowledge to the tribal belt, into the people of these regions, where development has reached much later, in the later stages. So that is how the the priest and the nuns from Kerala have started going there, establishing church and convents out there, and they have schools. There are a lot of schools. The majority of schools in the northeastern regions belongs to the church, or either church or some convent congregations. That is how they went there, and we know that many of the activists, like one of the famous activists, Daya Bai, she was like one of the first nun to travel from Kerala to Madhya Pradesh, and later she left the convent, and she started working among the tribals. So even then itself, like maybe like 5 decades back or 6 decades back, this nuns and priests were going there, giving, especially Jesuits in Jharkhand. Jharkhand is the Jesuit, like Jharkhand is one of the states where the number of Jesuit institutions are at the highest, and where a lot of Kerala-based priests are working among the tribals and tribal wells. We have seen the Stansami ashram, where almost all of his team were from Kerala. So it is from the colonial era.
Dhanya, if I want to come in here and tell this, in my reporting trip across the tribal belts in Gujarat and all of that, it's a very different scene from what me as a Malayali has seen the churches plays in community. Here the churches are proud, powerful, strong, and there's such a presence. You can see them next to a mosque and next to a temple. But here, when you travel to the tribal land, you understand, like today's TNM report when I was reading, and your reporter captured that nun's trembling voice and that sense of fear that they had even to push for a bail application. And that is exactly how it operates in the tribal belt. They are doing work among the poorest of the poor community. Their houses and their institutions are being marked. They are being burnt. Their congregations, whenever they try to get together for prayer meetings, are being targeted, and they live in constant fear. These nuns who are, and mostly you see Malayali nuns there, and it's a very heartwarming sight for us Malayalis when we go reporting to these tribal belts, so of how much they care for these people and try to do welfare work, but are being really terrified and silenced to oppose a place where they can't even, file complaints against what is being done by different RSS organizations who are targeting them.
Not just that, Leena, there's a much difference from the Kerala church institutions, and like when we go to a bishop house in Kerala and when we visit a bishop house in Jharkhand or in Manipur, it's totally different. Like there's no security out there. It's a normal place where anybody can get inside, anybody can meet a bishop. It's not that bishop is a special person with much security, and like you have somebody, a gatekeeper, to block you or something. There's nothing like that in the outside, especially in the northern states. We just go meet people, meet the bishop or like the associates of bishop very easily out there. And even the convents, there is no system of security, or there is no system of here it's considered holy, that is a holy place, and it is a big place, it's a rich place, but we cannot find it. There are the people who work among the tribal belt, who work in the social sector, that is really visible. The change is visible.
But I just want to say one thing from what Mr. Gonsalves was saying, and drawing to what you people are talking about, that the church in Kerala is so powerful, right? But the same church in Kerala is now being accused of bartering their rights for some cake mixes from the BJP. That's what the Congress is saying. The next time you will get cake mixes for Christmas, you will sit with the Prime Minister, but then your brothers and sisters will be attacked in Chhattisgarh and arrested. But the powerful church in Kerala is really not speaking up. I mean, Harita, I think only the Ernakulam diocese has for now said that this is not done, right? But most of the other dioceses are still keeping quiet.
Yeah, a few, not a few, the majority of the priests from Ernakulam diocese is against it. They are speaking up against the saffronization inside the church. But none of other dioceses, especially the Sriram Malabar Church diocese, they are speaking. They'll put up a statement, or but that real protest is not coming from them, because they are really scared to speak against BJP, because here for a long time, for past 1 decade, they have been causing up with BJP. Very well, they are getting along with BJP leaders, and yeah, as they said, like there were cakes and sweets, and their relationship has been in a really good way in last 1 decade. So they haven't, none of the other dioceses haven't spoken up in a strong way. KCBC has put a statement, but not in a strong way. But yesterday, Deepika, the mouthpiece of the church, has published an article saying, except in Kerala, in all other states, Christians are being persecuted. So that fact, the Christians are being persecuted in other states, it is not been widely accepted by the church or diocese yet, because they have very conveniently convinced the public that, see, these attacks are just singular attacks, rare incidents that happens because these Hindutva groups misunderstands these church institutions or church people as Protestants who do religious conversions. So these attacks are not really against the Catholics. It is really against the Protestants. So when we go among the people, they are convinced that, okay, this is a rare incident. They misunderstood as Protestants. This is not against the Catholics. So when I go to Palapa, when I go to Kannur, where these Christians have massively moved to the BJP, they are so into this notion that, okay, these attacks are against the Pentecostal church. These attacks are against the evangelists. It's not against the Catholics. They misunderstood. And one time it happened or two times it happened. It is not going to happen to us. So they believe that. And church is supporting that belief too.
But I think there's also a bind of Islamophobia that has brought them closer to BJP.
Enemy's enemy is my friend, is the church.
Love jihad and other such.
I want to ask Mr. Gonsalves, this whole thing that you spoke about in the beginning, right? That it's the lack of leadership also. Why do you think that prevails? Now, like Harita was saying, one thing the Catholic Church has been able to convince Kerala church-going people is that these attacks are isolated. They are not part of a pattern that the BJP or its Sangh is only opposing Muslims but not Christians per se. Why do you think the church leadership has not been able to really back their own community?
Okay, let me answer by rewinding a little bit to the attacks being sporadic. Because it shows that there was peace, relative peace, until a particular month in a particular year. And then the attacks started in 8 or 9 states simultaneously. Which means that the BJP, the RSS, the Bajrang Dal, at the highest level of their leadership decided that we have to start an attack against the Christian community. Otherwise, it wouldn't start all of a sudden. Second, they're all identical. You go for a prayer meeting, suddenly you're attacked, then the police take you out, then they register an FIR, then they take a promise from you that you'll not do your prayer meeting. And you'll end up in jail and you're doing your cases for several years. So the modus operandi is the same. Third is, if you look any state, the letter containing the complaint against the Christian community, which is converted into an FIR, is always on the letterhead of these organizations, 8 or 10 organizations. And in our petition in the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court was too vacillating to look at that. I said, sir, look at all these letters. President of the local Bajrang Dal, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, RSS, and so on. All the letters which start the legal process of FIRs, again, is all the same. So it's systematic. That's point 1. Now 2, coming back to what should be done. I don't think we can rely on the hierarchy of the church to protect ordinary Christians. They have abandoned their flock. It's quite clear. Except for my dear Archbishop Chinat. What a lion and how he fought, came to the court, did a petition. And you know what happened to him when they did a petition? He was summoned to Delhi. I was also allowed to come in. And he was surrounded by advocates in Delhi who scolded him. Archbishop, what have you done? Do you realize that by doing this case, you brought all of us into danger? Can you imagine The man who protected people went to the Supreme Court. We got an order after order in the Supreme Court. So I scolded the advocates in return and I told them, who are you, mister? Who are you that you scold the Archbishop? You must be doing church property cases, isn't it? Did you do any human rights work in your life? Did you go to Kandamal? Did you help the fight against communalism in Odisha? So I think we can write off the top hierarchy of the church, be it Catholic, Protestant, anything. But what about us? What about young people who are lawyers, who are journalists, who are other kind of activists, who are doing all kinds of things? Why do we not organize ourselves? And let the church follow us if they come at all. But why do we not organize ourselves? And I'm struggling with that question because I can't find an answer. I advised people, all of us, all of you journalists, everybody, we should have a program to fan out in the country. I told people every Sunday, I'll travel early morning to a particular state. We'll organize a meeting. We speak on how the law can be used. We'll use the law against these characters. Because if you catch these guys in the beginning, these Bajrang Dal fellows, and file a case against them, and take that case up to the High Court, up to the Supreme Court, they stop that activity completely.
So a quick point, in Karnataka, the fight back I saw on ground were by young and old women. And it was so heartening to see. We saw video after video where when Bajrang Dal goons would barge into these houses asking why you holding prayer meetings, these women would yell, shoo them out of their houses saying, don't you dare come to my house again. So that was something else. I get goosebumps thinking about it again. But I have a quick question for you. In Gujarat, where I think it all started in the 70s and 80s, much before it spread to other parts of the country, one thing I heard again and again is in the 70s, even when Congress was in power, anti-conversion, anger against Christians was a thing because they were converting people in large numbers, especially in the tribal belt, like Leena mentioned. I'm playing the devil's advocate here. For those who say, but why convert? That is where anger stems from. How do you respond?
There's nothing wrong with conversion. It's perfectly legitimate. It's perfectly legal as long as you do it with love and cooperation and volunteerism. There's nothing wrong with conversion. I would not back down and step back and say, oh, I'm not converting. If I help people, if I assist people, if I'm there when they are in troubled times, there's nothing wrong in a person saying, I have seen you in your work, and I've seen you in your community, and I've seen you in your day-to-day lives, and I want to abide by the practices and principles of Christianity. Nothing wrong. Right. And I get a sense that there are few groups that are doing it in a sort of overzealous way, really over the top. But I am actually not inclined to retreat. I'm not a practicing Christian myself. I come from Christianity and so on. I'm not a practicing Christian myself. But I get really upset when I hear people forcing people, to take false kind of defenses. So a person can well say, of course I was Hindu. Of course I converted. I converted for this reason, etc., etc. And it can happen the other way around. A person who's Christian can say, I watched Hindu practices. I loved it. They treated me well. I lived in their community, so I converted. Conversion is not a crime. And if it's done voluntarily, it's not a crime at all. Now we have to fight against anti-conversion laws. We have to fight unitedly, but there's not a whisper in the country on that fight. Atrocious legislation. Somebody gives you an allurement. What is allurement, for God's sake? What is an allurement? And all right, suppose I have a hospital and I treat you and I show you the work that we are doing, or this goes for any community. I speak as if I'm a Christian, then Hindu or whatever, and you see my work among the poor, and you are attracted, allurement, you are attracted by my work. What's wrong with that? That's not a crime at all. And we don't have a single one of our leaders fighting unitedly against these anti-conversion laws.
There's a political side of it, right? For example, the controversy now in Kerala is that while the arrests are happening in Chhattisgarh, the church and the BJP continue to walk together. And we are seeing the results of that, right? From Suresh Gopi winning Thrissur seat in the Lok Sabha. How much entrenched is the BJP now? Because I remember your last report from Munnambalam when the Waqf issue was happening, where 600 people said that they were going to lose property because of some kind of a Waqf claim. And a lot of them were Christians. You wrote that BJP is also now trying to work with Latin Christians, right?
Yes, Munambam was one issue where BJP tried to build inroads to the Latin Catholics, because Latin Catholics had always kept away from BJP's attempts to gain trust on their community. But Sriram Malabar Church have been from 2007 to 2014 onwards, immediately after the first Modi government took charge, the Alancheri bishop had a meeting with him, and they had connections to BJP for last 1 decade. Munambam, actually, that Waqf issue, then that was also that backfired BJP in a way. So after Waqf, because the people they thought that after the Waqf Act they might get their land back and this legal complications, and it did not turn out true. So that did not work out well for the BJP. And the political consequence, now I have seen that recently I've seen that now the Thrissur diocese has held a protest now some time back in Thrissur against the nuns' arrest. Thrissur is a very very interesting constituency where last time of the first BJP MP Suresh Gopi won from there. That one of the major reason was Christian votes. So BJP one day went to the church there and gave a golden cross, and with that all the believers trusted that okay, BJP is okay with them. And maybe you might,
Harita, if I may butt in there, and this election and this campaign came just in the background of the Manipur violence, where maximum Christian communities were targeted, and even with that knowledge, the Christian leaders went and backed the BJP candidate and won him the first ever, BJP MP from Kerala. Yes.
and it was so surprising that none of the leaders actually strongly reacted against the Manipur violence. Then we cannot expect them to react for this nuns arrest. Actually, it is not surprising for the Kerala Catholic leaders we cannot expect them, because even the Manipur, they haven't done much. They actually turned a blind eye towards that. They called it they thought that it's just an ethnic fight. Their initial statements were ethnic fight. Only later they have come into the acceptance that okay, there is a religious factor in that. But they were very, very well playing it. And even after that, even during, it is when the peak of Manipur conflict in 2024, that is when CBCI invited Modi for the Christmas celebrations in Delhi. And Modi invited all the top bishops of India, almost 5 top bishops attended Modi's Christmas celebration in India. Then none of them, though they said that, okay, we have spoke about Manipur, but there was no strong statement from any of them. So this 2 nuns arrest is nothing. We cannot expect anything more from them. And politically also, I wanted to add that in Kerala, you might remember this whole saffronization and this conversion, all that the talks about conversion started in 2016 when the Hindu helpline started. You remember maybe some of the minority morcha youngsters, they started the the Christian helpline group. That's how the whole saffronization within the church was beginning in 2015 when they started this group, and they said that okay, the Christian women are being converted to Muslim, and love jihad is happening, IS recruitments are happening. So the whole propaganda around these conversions in Kerala is surrounded in that. They think that okay, there's love jihad. There is only love jihad which is a threat to the community at present, and there is only the Muslim community which is a threat to, and they are not. Maybe they are conveniently they are not agreeing to the fact that okay, there are much bigger, much realistic threats outside Kerala which is happening to the Christians.
Yeah. So I guess we'll close the discussion now, but I think what's come out of it is that Manipur can happen, nuns can get arrested in Chhattisgarh, but the Christian leadership in Kerala, especially the Catholic leadership, is very happily and conveniently continuing to be allies with the BJP. There is no disturbance in that. And like Harita says, this is too small an incident for the community leadership to be shaken. And like Mr. Gonsalves was saying, I think even Sucheta Dalal said the same thing in a previous South Central. That is for the young people of the country to just be aware of what's happening, to react to things and to come together. Thank you very much, Mr. Gonsalves, for joining us here at South Central.
In a major shake-up, TCS, which is Tata Consultancy Services, which is India's biggest IT services firm and also one of the biggest job creators in the country, has announced that in fiscal year 2026, they will be laying off 2% of the global workforce. Now, that amounts to around 10 to 12,000 of its employees. The cuts have mainly hit mid and senior level employees. And while on record, they've gone on to say that this has nothing to do with AI. AI is definitely the elephant in the room. So we will look at if this is a result of more automation and more AI. But more importantly, what does this mean? Because in a sense, TCS is seen as a bellwether. Does this mean that more IT companies will follow suit? Are we looking at a season of more layoffs? Because let's remember that it isn't limited to just TCS. Tech Mahindra, Intel, Microsoft, many other companies are, if not already, but they are looking at cutting more jobs. This is another thing that we'll unpack. But most importantly, there is a lot of concern. Many unions have already gone on record to say that this could very well be violating many labor laws, although TCS has said that they'll offer notice period pay, severance packages, and even counseling for employees who are impacted. To unpack all of this, and most importantly, what this means for also the larger economy of India, we have with us Mr. Sriram Rajagopal. He's the founder and director at Diamond Pick and Strato Studio. He's also the founder of Imaging Tech. He's previously worked as the Senior Vice President of Human Resources and Global Head of Talent Supply Chain at Cognizant. Thank you so much for joining us from Chennai.
Thank you.
Also joining us from Chennai today is A. Welkin. He's the General Secretary of Unite, which is the Union of IT and ITES employees. Like I said, he's based in Chennai and he's recognized across Tamil Nadu. He's also appeared in many events based in that are based in Bengaluru. He's traveled to several parts of Karnataka on many issues. I want to start with asking what this really means, because there have been, of course, layoffs in the past, but why is this layoff so significant and what does that mean going forward? My question is to you, Mr. Sriram.
So if you trace the growth of the IT industry for the last 3 or 4 years, right, there was a lull at the time of COVID when companies were adjusting to the new realities of working remote or hybrid, as the case may be. And then there was a significant surge in demand for talent, and companies pretty much doubled their headcount in that 2021-22 time period, assuming that there's going to be endless growth in business. And then suddenly, when they started applying the brakes late 2022, they realized that this growth is not coming because customers in the US or otherwise, they're not going to have unlimited budgets go up on a go-forward basis. Right? There's a lot of strain on margins. As a result, customers' IT budgets are not increasing. So while the industry planned for a certain growth rate, I'd say that growth rate got impacted because the IT budgets of their customers did not grow in relation to the growth of headcount that they added in anticipation of that growth. So you have to keep that in mind. So customers are happy to grow less, but make it more sustainable, more margin friendly. So as a result, when the customer says, you have to do more with less because you have tools at your disposal, you have to give me productivity, and AI could be a part of it, then what it leaves larger organizations is with a lot of excess capacity that they don't need because they need to do work with much smaller teams than they had planned before. Two, there's a big GCC push, as you see a lot of GCC conferences organized by many folks, right? So there is a portion of what would have gone to an IT outsourcing firm that has gone to the GCC as well, right? So it's actually eating away a portion of what could have come as outsourcing business. It's gone into the GCC itself, okay? And the third is AI, right? But the AI-led productivity is still not mainstream enough for companies to go back and say, I have saved 20% of my headcount because of AI, right? Even though people have started talking about 20% of my code is written by AI, 30% of my code is written by AI, but it's just not talked about that replacing X number of developers. That's not happened. So TCS or any of the larger organizations have had to deal with slowing growth, but they built capacity anticipating higher growth. And a portion of that growth has gone into the GCC because GCC is growing at least 3-4 times that of the IT services industry, as you would have seen from the earnings calls. They're barely growing at all, right? If you look at if you trace the growth path, your YY growth is about 2-3%, or even sometimes negative for many of the larger organizations. So when you don't have growth and your attrition as high.
Yeah, Sriram, if I can interrupt you just 1 minute. Okay, for all the listeners of South Central, Pooja, of course, started this topic because we have completely put the responsibility on her to take this debate forward, considering my knowledge about the IT sector is very limited.
May I add that I was not consulted on that decision?
Yeah, but I want to ask a question from what you said, Sriram. You said that companies are not making enough money or what they thought they would. But I was just doing a small Google in the financial results of TCS, for example. In the last 2 quarters, this TCS Chief Executive Officer, Preethi said, we are pleased to cross a $30 billion in annual revenue and achieve a strong order book for the second consecutive quarter. And this was in March 2025. So how does that go hand in hand? How can we then say that perhaps they're not making enough money?
The same is also the case with Microsoft, because they've gone on to say that they had record earnings, but they've still sacked 15,000 of their employees. So.
See, when you consolidate businesses, when you change the organization structure to make it more efficient, right? When you, for example, take 3 departments and make it 1 business unit. Now you have a support structure for each of those departments that may not be required because you just need 1 team to do the same job. So, what they're perhaps talking about is an organizational restructuring that has made, 2% in the scheme of things of 700,000 people. Your performance curve at the end of the day, when you look at a bell curve, the bottom is 5%, right? 2% is actually much smaller than that. So it's not a big number. In absolute terms, it looks like a lot of people. And a lot of that has, as you rightly put, in the middle management category, where it's going to be even more difficult for those folks to find jobs in the market, because today, somebody who has the skills, who is hands-on, is a lot more marketable and employable than somebody who's not. So it is going to be tough for them to get back into mainstream employment unless something happens on the macro scenarios to infuse growth, growth that we are used to seeing pre-pandemic. Right today, if the 1%, 2%, 3% growth year on year will not be enough to, because organizations want leaner pyramids, right? and self-managed teams. When you have those kind of things, so a lot of supervisory talent that is out there may not have a meaningful role to play.
Right. Welkin, I want to take your reading on what TCS has said. They've said that we want to be compassionate about this. Kriti Vasan, in an interview to Money Control, has said that we will not, we are very concerned. But they've also gone on to say that we're offering notice period pay, severance packages, extended health insurance, outplacement support, and counseling for those employees who are supported. One, do you think this is enough? Two, what is your grouse? Unions have indicated that there might be some violation of labor laws. Tell us about that.
First, on this statement, specifically on the TCS statement, there are two contradictory things which we want to highlight. One is that it's a management decision to let go 2% of the employment, but in the end, it would be a forced resignation pattern. So that's how, so far, Indian IT MNCs handled mass illegal retrenchments. So I can explain that why later, but so that's one contradiction. So employees would be leaving the company. It would seem like employee will be leaving the company voluntarily because the company decided they don't want them. And the second part is TCS like company, which is basically a consultancy firm, who do not work on single project, single technology, or single client. So they have wide variety of clients, wide variety of technologies, wide variety of teams. So each person, when they work in a consultancy, they would end up working for multiple technologies, multiple teams, multiple clients, multiple sector or industries. So claiming that specifically the mid and senior level cadres are skilled, but we can't deploy them, is something absurd. It's actually humiliating the people who performed well in spite of all the skilling activity they have done and went up in the ladder. And still the company wants to blame them for not ready to get into a product or not be able to get into a project. So this clearly, or in our perspective, this clearly indicates that there's something more happening than what they claim. And as Kirti rightly pointed out, it is not definitely AI, because this is not something, this pattern happens every year. Now this comes up in public discussion because of the scale at which it is happening. And there is a reason for the scale at which it is happening now. If you look at the annual statement of the TCS last year, they have given almost 44,000 crores of rupees to Tata and Sons, whereas their employees did not even get promotion or increment, variable pay, anything. So, and it was the case for even last year. The employees didn't get anything, probably 1% or so. But 44,000 crores of rupees without investing in the company and handing over to the Tata Sons, because Tata Sons are in a crisis, is the primary reason from our analysis this mass cost cut initiative happening. So so this basically violates Industrial Dispute Act. Tata Consultancy Service, in wherever possible in India, has registered themselves or has complied as per the Industrial Dispute Act, which says we don't do retrenchment without getting permission from the company, from the government. But this 12,000 employees, which majority, though they mentioned it is global level, majority would be from India because of the proportion of the employment, will still violate the Industrial Dispute Act, where if any retrenchment happened or any let go happened more than 100 people in an organization, it has to get permission from the government with valid justification. Considering the financials they have, around 6,000 crores of rupees they have in bank, cash, which they can liquidate immediately, and lack of crores of rupees as revenue annually, and 44,000 crores they have given just like that to Tata Sons. They are financially very well put, so they can't justify this reason or financial constraint to government. And the law says new joinees should be let go first, not the senior most. So the contradiction is at one news, they say 12,000 people approximately they're going to send out. At the other end, they say they're going to recruit 20,000 freshers. So it is again illegal as per the retrenchment for the Industrial Dispute Act. So this is our initial take on the statement with respect to TCS.
But Welkin, can lack of upskilling be a reason that a company uses to actually let people go, saying that we need upskilling, these people are not able to get themselves upskilled?
So that is not the truth, because TCS says tens of thousands of hours are put in by the employees for reskilling. So every annual statement has that metric. And even in the Keithi's mail, it is clearly mentioned that they were reskilled, but they were not able to be deployed. So deployment is a business problem. It's a management problem. It's not the employee's problem. As per law, as an employee, I should be ready to work. So that's my obligation. It's the business obligation to give me a job. So again, Keethi clearly mentioned that it is their problem, but blaming on the employees, which is the usual pattern happening in the IT industry.
I wanted to bring a point here. As Welkin has rightly pointed out, we see this happening year after year, right? These largest private sector employees, especially in the IT industry, where employees are, has so much spending capacity because the kind of earnings they have in this country and the kind of employment ratio that they offers to young, educated Indians who are attracted to the IT industry, and how it impacts the economy in the long run. Because this is like senior employees, when they get out of job at this point, the industry is not equipped to soak them back in, right? There are not many jobs that are out there where they can, and these are people who will have their own EMIs, who will have, is a significant investment into the child's education and all of that they'll struggle to then, then to figure out things for themselves. And we have seen that in the past, the law has also not been very accommodating of their claims for compensation in these companies. I think Karnataka has a lot of examples where these employees have gone to court, but they haven't got the kind of relief that would give them some guarantee against these big employers. These looks like numbers, when you say 12K people entrenched, but then these are, each one of them are personal stories of families affected, of careers ruined, right? And how do you see the court coming in here?
Yeah, actually, before we zoom out and look at the larger picture, I was just telling Dhanya before the podcast, 12,000 people, where will they go? What work will they do?
No, I just want to talk about this email, just 2 lines before you go to Sriram again. This email which was sent to TCS employees says, towards this, a number of reskilling and redeployment initiatives have been underway. As part of this journey, we'll also be releasing associates from the organization whose deployment may not be feasible. So what Welkin is saying is also correct, that the letter to the employee said that the deployment is not possible.
Yeah.
You want to go to Sriram now?
Yeah, I do. Sriram, I do want to take your comment on where do these people go? What kind of jobs can they go? Because if TCS doesn't have place for them, then where can they be accommodated?
So like I said, a portion of that growth of the IT industry is happening in the GCC, right? So now these managers, again, see, I have to clarify that a lot of what they're talking about is a middle management category, which are typically not what they call in the billable category, right? So customers do pay for people who contribute to the, a portion of the project development, and the rest of it is considered investment by the organization. So typically when you're in the manager or a senior manager or a director type level, you're not billed to the customer. So, a large part of this in many organizations will be where, see, the ones that are skilled and are billing, I don't think there'll be a problem. I think as you rightly said, the mail states, if it's not feasible for me to deploy you, which means I've given you, see, typically even within organizations that I've been part of, right, you get 3 to 4 opportunities. You get 3 or 4 customer interview opportunities. If you don't clear them, then you go into an upskilling pool. You get some upskilling for maybe 3 to 4 weeks, and then you go back to the pool again to get interviewed by, let's say, 2 or 3 opportunities. Only if you're not able to place yourself, then you get released. But the question is very valid that, people do at that level do have obligations, right? They may have a small family. They probably have EMIs to pay. I would say that the GCCs are still growing, right? I still think that the GCC revenues will touch 40 billion, and there will be, and as long as you're mobile and a little flexible on locations, you see locations that are attracting a lot more GCC talent. And if you're mobile, I would still think there would be opportunities for people there.
But is this the beginning of something more, dangerous? Because brokerage firm Jeffries has called this canary in the coal mine. So are the glory days of Indian IT industry behind us? Or
But,
is that a
do we always
exaggeration?
sound like very like end of the day, end of the tunnel
But-
kind of doomsday stuff?
Yeah, I mean, is it? Or at least the beginning of the end, if not doomsday.
See, what TCS is going through, or whatever they have announced, I don't think they're alone, right? It's the same growth pattern that you see with the larger organizations. When the growth slows down significantly and you build capacity, assuming a certain growth that's not coming through, there is going to be a certain portion of the population that is not effectively contributing to running the business, that they will have to let go. So that's because when you look at a span or a pyramid, right? So, a supervisor has to manage 8 people, 9 people. So if you add it all up, there would be a set of people that are not managing enough, right? Then that's, which means they don't have enough work, or they've probably not made themselves relevant enough for the opportunity at hand. It could be a scenario, in larger organizations which are seeing sluggish growth. But again, this industry has gone through these phases, right? So we've seen a dip. We've also seen a growth curve. So this S curve, it will repeat itself, and there would be a point in time where a new set of opportunities will emerge. Because, like I said, AI-based, productivity is still not mainstream. So there are people who are able to learn, and the one good thing about AI or Gen AI is commoditizing expertise, right? So even for senior folks, it's not very hard to learn coding, vibe coding with AI, and to make themselves relevant for newer opportunities. So while the models are getting trained, so that itself will create more opportunities, in my opinion. That's what every CEO that you listen to in their earnings call, they talk about. While there would be upward mobility of people, right? Junior folks can do a slightly more senior order jobs because the AI allows them to do so. Okay. But they will also create new opportunities.
Spoken like a true HR manager.
With also some light at the end of a tunnel, I
No,
suppose.
But Welkin, I want to ask you something. From what Leena said itself, I mean, over the years, there have been so many cases. Maybe the number was not 12,000, but of big retrenchments and of beginners, of mid-level, senior level and all that. And there are several cases where you all have approached courts, right? Is there any case which stands like a benchmark that there has been relief either from the labor courts or any other court? Or is that also something that we are not getting?
I'll get to that, but before that, I just want to touch upon 2 points. So one is on normalizing this retrenchments or the sudden let go. That is something inhuman in our experience, because when we interact with the people who are affected, they get into depression. Not only them, their family gets into depression. Even kids suffer because of this. So it's something, it's an harassment by the management when they say that we are going to randomly select people and then send out without specifically letting me know that I'll be targeted or I'm in the list. What law says I need to have 1 month of at least notice. But the practice is to inform you just before you're let go. So till then, you will be on a continuous stress on whether you will be in the list or not. And that stress will definitely go to the family, kids. So it's a huge problem. And the medical expenses are the worst. Education and the medical expenses are the worst in our experience, because you decide between life or death and EMI. So that's the state this retrenchments put us when we get terminated or forced to resign. So that normalizing is something we should continuously oppose, and the sensitizing on the impact it creates on the employees that we want to highlight. On the question on the legal struggle in current judiciary system, so in a state like Tamil Nadu, it is a 3-layer. So first you need to take to the management, even though they are the ones who are doing wrong. You need to approach the management. You need to create evidences that you have reached the management that you're not agreeing with the decision they have taken, and then you need to reach the labor commissioner, who may take 90 days or 6 months in some cases to do the conciliation. Only then you can take to the court. So in court, it usually takes 3 to 4 years. Our experience is till labor commissioner conciliation process, people can handle it. But beyond that, it is impossible for a middle class family person to sustain the mental torture this process gives them and the economic impact it is creating on them. And till then, they don't need to use lawyer, but when they need to go to labor court, they need to use lawyer. And it is a sustained struggle, which very few travel that path. And there are judgments which, like Ramesha case HCL, Ramesha with HCL, which clearly indicated that IT employee is also workman, so the Industrial Dispute Act is applicable. And it is a landmark judgment which created a whole lot of things, or which changed the struggle labor movement did in this IT industry. And even TCS recently got reinstated, but management went and appeal, and he's yet to get the job, but there's a partial victory. So legal way or the path to justice itself is a punishment as of now. Even in the new labor code, which they are bringing in, there's no improvement on the path to justice. They have legalized some illegalities, but for the employees, nothing done in the labor code to get faster redressal or even to somewhere get justice to at least give a relief. In this TCS case, they are giving 3 months of notice period, which is the most minimal you can even think of. So mid-level in Naukri, if you just go and search, mid-level employees will not even have opening. Not even 10% of jobs will be opening in the Naukri for mid-level. Forget about senior, they won't get job. They'll be probably going for tea franchisee, tea shops, something like that, or even farming in Tamil Nadu. So it is impossible for them to get into the industry. But in spite of all these difficulties, the management is not ready to give them severance pay, which would give a little bit of relief for the number of years of experience they have served. To circumvent that, they are doing forced resignation.
Welkin, what would you say is the ideal severance pay the company should give?
By law, it is 15 days of salary for the number of years of experience. That is still very low. But even then, they're not giving that.
Welkin, I have one question before I go to Sriram and close it. One is that, see, you started it, even Pooja said that 12,000 is not a number. It is each person, right? One person, one family, whatever it is. And you have seen how much of harassment they go through. What is the kind of trauma their families have to go through. But something which has always puzzled me, and I think we wrote a long story in which you were also quoted about why the IT industry still does not organize, right? Despite all this, they even any effort to have even a workers' union, I'm not saying a political union, even a workers' union is seen as problematic by even people in the IT industry. Why do you think that persists?
I can give you the very recent outcome, which happened just probably an hour before in Karnataka. So Karnataka Union, KITU, which mobilized or organized around some 14,000 IT employees in the last year, now announced that they have made the government reverse the 12-hour law proposal. And it is a significant development because in Tamil Nadu, it took almost 3 to 4 central trade unions to reverse the 12 hours law. Single-handedly, KITU with 14,000 membership successfully done that. That is through organizing. So the numbers still may be low in some states, and if you take the overall employment, it's still low. But compared to last 5 years, it has significantly grown. One reason we believe, or due to the interaction with employees, we think is the companies establish that they can make all laws or all policies at will. So they clearly establish that they are a feudal landlord and they are not bound by the constitution or the land of law. Because of that, and also the government is not regulating them in any state. Government is not regulating them. Because of that, there is an impression among the employees that these people can sabotage their livelihood of getting into next employment. That is how they threaten. If you don't resign, I will make sure I will not give you document. I will fail you in background verification. So these are the daily empty threats. There are empty threats. But when a middle class family person who don't have any legal knowledge, who don't have any rights knowledge, when they face such threat, when their kids and family, their parents are in the line, they definitely yield to that. So that is the primary problem we find.
Okay, so Sriram, I'll come to you. You are somebody who's worked in the HR sector. Let's keep TCS away. But what is it then? Hindi se haath something dil pe rakhe kaho. That do you think HR practices in the industry is definitely needs a rethink, and like Welkin has said a lot of stuff, especially about severance pay, etc. I don't want to put you on a spot just by asking about TCS, but generally, do you believe that it is not very employee friendly when it comes to retrenchment?
Yep. So let me, short answer, but in general, okay, I think the HR practices, especially for the technology industry, needs an overhaul. Okay. While we talk about people losing jobs here, this entire IT industry grew at the cost of US jobs. So there were hundreds of thousands of people losing jobs in the US when you were, ramping up here. Right? And there are families there who also had very similar consequences, right? So, when you come and see Doge cutting down hundreds of thousands of jobs, it's no different, right? Because even the families in the US, especially middle income families, live paycheck to paycheck. It's not any different. But they do have better planning. There is unemployment insurance that at least guarantees some level of pay. So I think the Indian IT industry also has to start thinking about protecting interests of employees for such an eventuality. I don't think we have either thought about it or planned for it.
We have not planned for it, yeah.
Okay, so because it's not very difficult to budget for it. It's easy to create a corpus knowing fully well that you will at least have a scenario like this for at least 5% contingency. It's not very hard. Okay. There is no, so I think it's a collective intent that needs to come together. So because nobody will do it for one company, right? It's either the government needs to intervene and then, make it mandatory, or the collective industry bodies have to come together and say this is something that is right by the employee. So I agree, we don't do enough.
That's a surprise that even in a country where big corporates rule like America, there is some kind of support for employees who are entrenched to get some paycheck to cover their credit card bills or something while they look for another job. Whereas in a country like India, there is nothing for these IT employees to fall back on once they lose their job. I think that's a great point that you have made there.
Like I said, I can say it all now because I'm no longer in the corporate.
That's candid enough.
No, but that's what Welkin was saying, right? When you're inside the company, you cannot talk much because it's the law of the company which runs. Good for you that you left and you can speak now.
Yeah, it's like I said, there is opportunity for us to do better. Let's put it that way. Opportunity for us to be more humane, more organized, more at least have some sort of a forward thought process that it is eventual that you will have scenarios like this time and again, and then just plan for it.
Okay. So we'll come and we'll put an end to the discussion. We'll now quickly go to recommendations. I think Bhuvan, our producer, would have told you, please come with a recommendation for a book or a series. Pooja, what is your recommendation?
So I do have a Netflix series also to recommend.
Pooja is watching a lot. Every week she is giving a Netflix series. Where is she finding the time?
I am traveling. I am doing LME.
You have gone to
South Central.
Mangalore, which is a 25-minute flight. So,
No. So it's called House MD. It's an old series I discovered recently. I'm learning a lot, but I also have a short read to recommend. It's a piece in Politico, and it's called Even the Orbit Writers Are Jumping Ship at the Washington Post. I think it very nicely summarizes how bad the state of affairs in journalism is. So yeah.
I want to fully endorse what you all have said and what you've done. I think it's sterling work to do a podcast like this and try and reach out to as many people as you can. I congratulate you. All the participants are so extraordinary. And if you keep up the standard like this, as I'm sure you'll do, this is going to be a very popular media, outreach. Thank you very much for bringing me. It's been an honor to come
We're
here.
not interrupting because we were happy you
no,
were
we are
praising
thanking
us.
you for this, but you have to recommend a book you read, which you want people to read.
Wait, one more thing. Everyone's talking about Kerala, okay? I'm a Malayali too.
Oh, that I didn't know. Sherry Appa sir, you tell the name of a book or a movie which you want people to read or watch.
Well, there are very good books coming out on the Bhima Koregaon freedom fighters who've been in jail for so long. I forget the title of those books right now, but lovely books on the lives of these people and how they were caught up and how they were not terrorists at all. This is Stan Swami and, Sai Baba and so on. So I'll get those for you if you like. And it's very interesting to read that. You get the true story, the inside story of this next new generation of freedom fighters for India.
Okay, sir, I have to ask you the mandatory question. Naatil evideya?
I never tell people I'm Malayali because I'm so ashamed. I can't speak Malayalam at all.
But you know this phrase, right? Naatil evideya?
No, I don't. I must confess.
Where in Kerala are you from?
Means where in Kerala are you
I'm
from?
more Malayali.
So if a Malayali sees a Malayali, they'll ask each other, Naatil evideya?
From a distance.
I only know what my grandmother told me when I left home. In the morning, she said, Poetava.
Poitava.
So that means go and come, right?
Yeah.
I think that's all that I know.
Poitava, yes. So Poitava for South Central podcast, sir. Do come back.
Oh, bye, everybody. It's been a joy listening to you.
Thank you, sir. Leena, you want to go next?
Yes, I'm doing something different this week, Dhanya, because we have all watched the viral photo series from Gaza and what it means. I've heard from a lot of my friends and family of them having a really bad breakdown moment and depression moment, seeing those photos. We are seeing something that is unusual, growing up, we all thought that when we heard about the genocide, the Hitlers, that nothing like that would happen in our day and age, that we'll never have to tie our hands up and sit and watch and not be able to stop something like that. So may all those who are going through a bad phase of watching this and not being able to contribute enough, may you take care of your health and reach out and do whatever to get you out of the place that is, but to actively put our voices forward to this cause. And and to all those who are still supporting this genocide, my God, may you find some light in your life, that that you see something of what is happening in front of your eyes and stop being a genocide supporter. And maybe I should also recommend this piece that the Wire had put out today, Watching a Breakdown. And I think some of that, what I've raised here, is something that Ritu Menon, who has written the piece, has also voiced in that piece.
On a lighter note, I recently switched to watching Malayalam movies. I used to watch only Tamil before. I switched to watching Malayalam movies. The last two movies that I saw were fantastic. Kuduram and there is Kishkinda something. There is a story about monkeys. It's phenomenal. I don't understand. I mean, I can follow Malayalam a little bit, but with subtitles, if you're enjoying Malayalam,
It's called Kishkinda Kandam.
that's the one.
I have not watched it. I just Googled the name. Yes.
Dhanya, incidentally, is that one Malayali who doesn't watch any Malayalam movies we recommend here.
Yeah. Okay, Welkin, what is your recommendation?
So I recommend a book called Knowledge as Commons. So that is by Prabir Mukeshta. So in the evolving AI space, idea about digital commons and the idea or an alternate view of knowledge would give hopefully a better alternative on how AI can be used for society. So I think that is the book I recommend highly.
I think Prabir's book was one of my first recommendations in South Central itself. So my recommendation this week is a Caravan piece from May 2025. It's by Leena MS. She wrote about Adani's millions in Mauritius. It's a story about how the ED and CBI were investigating the Augusta Westland kickbacks, and they found Adani's network in it. As every Caravan story goes, it's a very, very long story. But Leena, who was a former Caravan editor, has no objections to that. But please do read it. It's a very interesting and very powerful investigation. So that's all this week at the News Minute. Write to us at southcentral@thenewsminute.com. I will have an episode just to read out all the letters. A lot of people wrote to us saying they were not very happy with the episode on Vijay. I personally was not very happy because I thought we were not prepared.
Oh, is that why? I thought it's because I was not there.
No, we were not very prepared in that episode. So do write to us, southcentral@thenewsminute.com, and tell us what you thought about Sriram and Welkin's points. Thank you to producer Bhuvan Malik, production assistant Ajay, the years of the show Sukanya Shaji, and Jasim Ali, our editor, and the person in charge of our socials, Yana. Keep watching, keep listening. Pooja will be at Dharmasthala from tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Do support our reporting fund and become a subscriber of the News Minute.